Hello and welcome to the sixth recap video for Furry Cartooning for Amateurs Winter 2026. It's February 17th, and tonight we'll be doing an attendance card. We'll be looking at furry art together. We'll be going over what the final class zine is going to look like, the rules and the format and whatnot. Then we're going to do a nonfiction comic start and a fiction comic start, two different activities, and then we're going to choose the stuff we wrote for the nonfiction one and the stuff we wrote for the fiction one, and turn that into a one-page comic. And that one-page comic is going to have a very specific format that fits into our digest size zine, and that format is pretty complicated. And so that's why I put on the fursuit tonight. Kind of one of the big reasons was because I know a lot of you are going to watch this over, so why not make it fun? Okay, so what's the first thing we gotta do? We gotta do an attendance card. So let's start with that. I'm going to put this camera up and switch over. But first thing, I want to show you what the zine format is going to look like. So let's switch it over to the... Oh, okay. There's a part where I actually take the fursuit head off. Okay, so here's an example of what this, spoilers, is going to be looking like. This is the beginning of a two-page comic here that I made. It's colored pencil, it's ink. Started with pencil and then I erased after I inked it. I used the Tombow Funosuke pen. That's a two-page one, right? But we're going to do just like a one-page one tonight. We're going to start it. Okay. But first things first, attendance card. Let's zoom in a little bit. So get out your 4" by 6" attendance card. No card, no card. And we're going to do an attendance card. The prompt tonight was draw yourself as an astronaut. So you start with a review frame, class name on the top left, date on the top right. This is a Lynda Barry activity. And yeah, so the end result, what did my end result look like? So you time yourself for 3 minutes, don't stop drawing, remember? Until it's over, just try to get into the image. So we warmed up with that. This is what mine looked like. Draw yourself as an astronaut. I don't know where his tail is, maybe inside. Okay. And then we had time to review the homework. The homework was go to a cafe or a library, draw for at least an hour. A lot of people posted results on the Discord, so not a lot of people talked about it, so we saved some time there. The results on the Discord were really great. I really enjoyed reading what people's experiences were. So the next thing I did was explain the zine. I have some examples to show you. What is this class zine I'm talking about? What is this class zine? Well, it's inspired by the zines that Lynda Barry students make at the end of her class. Making Comics 1, Making Comics 2, and even the Unthinkable Mind class. Here is an example from Making Comics 2. This is a zine of someone's work. Actually, who is it? Lauren Scanlon. And I got it at Quimby's in Chicago, and I was like, holy crap, this literally came from Lynda Barry's class. Yeah, so everyone does their own zine at the end, and we're going to take comics that we made and other things. Does she have I'm not seeing an attendance card because this is comics too, so it was just comics, but you can also take attendance cards and make backgrounds and put them in. Yeah, I wish I had a comics one. But yeah, full color. What else do I say about this? So I originally wasn't including this in the class. I didn't really think publishing was a major part of it. And then Outside Wolves was like looking at the first version of the syllabus and said, hey, it's going to be really special and important for people to see their work in a copied format, and kind of like a published format. And I said, oh my gosh, you're right. That's a great idea. I've done that a lot with my local group. It's pretty easy to print a zine, but also like there's a hurdle there. And so this is an opportunity to do that. But we're all in different locations. So like, what is this going to look like? I'll go over the format, and then I'll go over like the kind of mechanics of it, the publication side, the money side, all that. there are a lot of like publishers that are abusive or don't mean to be abusive, but take advantage of cartoonists and stuff. So it's going to be skeptical. We'll try to we'll do some changing democratically of the proposal next week of like what we're going to do. But this is the first proposal. So that I have, and I want other input, if not like literally votes on some of the more important aspects. It's going to be digest size, so 5.5 by 5.5 by 8.5 digest size zine, and this is John Porcelino's per zine, King Cat. So I thought this was a cool example. Okay, so that's the size, but let me go over all of it. It's optional to participate in the zine. You don't have to submit anything. I will be compiling all the contributions from everyone else, and I'll put some stuff in it too, for sure. You'll have the option to submit up to 10 pages of work. So this could be like 300 pages long if we really all just submit a bunch of work. So it might not be staple, saddle stitch, stapled, might be pretty big. This is the size, 8.5 by 5.5 inches, so half the size of this other one. You see how that works, and it'll be full color, so full color like Wisconsin Trust Fall. You can submit anything that you've made with the materials from the class. Some digital editing is allowed, but no digital coloring or inking. We really want it to all stay as traditional as possible. And highly recommended you submit your 2-page final comics for the zine if you made a 2-page comic. And we're going to use Lulu, which is a print-on-demand service, so it's going to be more expensive. And so we would just sell them at cost to our classmates, to ourselves. So if it is like a 300-page full-color book, it will cost like $40. But that's like worst-case scenario. It's probably going to cost a lot less. And yeah, so, and it's going to be, my proposal is we sell it at cost so that we don't have to deal with any profits. That means like the lowest we can sell it at, the Lulu will make profits, right? Because that's their business model, but we won't like increase the price above that. And then it's up to us to decide whether or not we will really be public about the link to purchase it or not. There might be some pros to keeping it private just for us, or there might be and there's also pros to like letting everyone buy a copy of the work. I have a feeling that people are going to lean towards, like just let everyone publish the link anywhere, and then all of our friends could buy our class book. That'd be so cool. So I think that's what we're going to end up deciding, but I'll leave that up to the class, and I'll run a little session, little like democratic kind of post a proposal and say, hey, does anyone want to amend anything? So I'll kind of be guiding the class to see what to expect this upcoming week on that. Okay, I showed the 2 zines, and we're going to try to do the submissions via Discord, but if there's any distortion or compression of the images, we might have to move to email. Okay, so that's the class zine, and with that in mind, we will be making a 1-page comic tonight with 2 starts. We'll start making a nonfiction, and then we'll start making a fiction, and then we'll decide which one we want to make for our 1-page comic. Okay. And now I'm going to switch it over to the screen, and I'll just go quickly through the things we looked at. We finally had time to look at art together for a little bit of time each. So what do I do? A screen with webcam. There we go. There you go. View slideshow. Okay, so different students submitted work, furry art to look at for, we're still doing just 30 seconds each. My original plan was to do 30 seconds each and then increasing the amount of time just to look at it, because that's something Lynda Barry did in Marilyn Frasca's class. I don't think I'm getting that last name right. And I thought, wouldn't it be lovely to look at furry art together in an age where we're like scrolling through art constantly, and sit down and look at art without any No critiquing, no even talking about the work, and just seeing what we experience when we sit down, just for 30 seconds each. So I'm going to say who it is, and then I'm going to go to the next image, and you can pause it for 30 seconds if you want to do this yourself. Okay, so the first one is Pavel 2024. The next one is Nov 2005. So this will be the time you pause it for 30 seconds. Okay, you get the idea. Next one is Shark Plane 2013. It's called Dream Pool. OK Benny on Blue Sky 2023 here. Then Guilherme Nunes 2025. Then Labrin 2022. Moss Rats 2025. End's Dream Comes True. Littlest Persimmon Tumblr 2025. What's this one? Next is from Emil Ferris's book, My Favorite Thing is Monsters 2017. And then Eco Jam C2, Stephen Gernez 2025. I got to see this painting in person in Cleveland, along with a classmate. This is Mark Merlino, Skill Terror, Colony, First Contact, 1986. AKA Cy Sable. Next is Tablespoon Art 2024 comic panel from last time we went out. I threw up and cried. This one is a little bit graphic. It's got a vision, kind of like a psychic episode, so content warning there. And then I looked up at that one. I wanted to see it again. 2021. Who's it? Oh, yeah. This I didn't write down the name because I was like, oh, and this one's Outside Wolves. One page from the comic Obscurant, and I just chose a page. It was tough choosing a page. And then 2025, another Outside Wolves. Okay. These are just things that people shared. I just chose one. If people shared multiple, I just chose one that they shared. Okay, so what am I doing next? We're going back to the document camera. Oh, let me move everything around. Okay, still recording, good. So now, the activity. We're doing a nonfiction writing kind of activity. We're starting with the X page again. Let me just move this out of the way. And lots of different prompts here. So here we go. Here's mine. Any pen, doesn't matter. I use Uniball Vision. You might recognize this format from the optional diary comics. Start with a big X. It doesn't really matter how you do this. I did seen, did, heard. I drew this as an example. This is actually, I'm going to cross this out because this is wrong. It's actually mostly fact. But at the end, when you're done making your comic, some people are like, oh, my life is boring. Okay, I'm jumping ahead here. My life is boring. You can put this at the top of your comic at the end and say how much is fact and how much is fiction. And if you know you're going to do that, then you can start to just lie in the comic. And then at the end, you can say, okay, audience, this was actually kind of fictional. And you can put this little bead on there. So this is my little fact fiction invention. I think I invented it in like 2020. I might have gotten it from someone else. So I don't know. You're welcome to use it is what I'm saying. The fact fiction slider for all your comics needs. I need more water. Okay. This is just a springboard, as you can see. I have some prompts here for a nonfiction comic. One is like, who is your fursona? What's your fursona? Tell us about who it is. I mean, that's fictional, but it's like, it's not a story. I'll say that. Or it could be a story from your invention of your fursona. You can do, like, if you've been to a furry convention before, your first furry convention, your most recent furry convention. You could write about your first furry meetup. You can write about something that happened this weekend. You can go into other things that happened that you did diary comics of a few weeks ago and expand upon one of the images. But this is a review frame, X page, and then it's free writing. So we did 10 minutes where we just filled out 10, seen, did, heard, blah, blah, blah. And you can even do a little drawing down here. And then 5 minutes of just writing on the side. I think it was 5 minutes. No, we might have done 7. 7 or 5. And just start writing as if you were writing the text of a comic. Okay. I don't think there are any other questions here. And then that's your nonfiction option for a one-page comic. And then we go to the fiction, which is fun. We did less time, but this could be 10 minutes again and 5 minutes again. Same thing, except we started differently. We had a bunch of what I like to call little guys, these little creatures that you were recommended to bring in. So if you don't have those now, go get them. Here's a bunch, right? I lined them up, just do a random, a method to randomize them, kind of. I put them all in a line, and you need to choose 2 or 3. I decided to choose 3, so this is how I did it. I had a die, but you could do a random number generator. Let's choose a bunch more. Okay, Polywrath, 12. I don't know, let's just say that's the end of the line. The Cephalopod, and 6. 1, 2, 3. Okay, this guy. So, if these were the... Who would be the 3? These would be the 3. These are my 3 characters now. Okay, we randomized it. We don't have to worry about all these choices in this upcoming comic. Great. And then I'm going to link it below, but there's a, if you Google search random word dictionary, random word randomizer, whatever, something like that. There's a good dictionary website that it'll let you choose a certain amount of words, and then you click random, and you'll get like 3 or 5 or whatever you selected. I would recommend doing that with 3. We saw some early Outside Wolves comics where he did that. You know, you could also open up a real dictionary, a physical dictionary, and like point just to a random page. That's a really good method, but I don't have a physical dictionary actually. And then you have words for prompt. And so I had these 2, speak and metabolize. And I had my 3 characters, who were my actual 3. This Plusle, the Cephalopod, and the thing that evolves from Ninoran. And this is this is a cheap knockoff version, so I don't know. Yeah, just start writing what you see, did, heard in this scene. Something, when I got speak and metabolize, I was like, oh, this is cafeteria. You're in a cafeteria, and then you can kind of like say, you decide, switch up the image and just kind of write what could happen, multiple things. And I decided that this cephalopod was really stressed out about an exam. Oh my gosh. And Plusle's not being very helpful, but Ninorino, whatever, is like concerned. Okay. And then you can write dialogue. I recommend writing dialogue for 5 minutes. You don't have to write what's happening. And sometimes I draw faces next to the dialogue. I think that just helps me. So I ended up going with like, I had a few different things, and then I ended up going with stressed out for class. Okay. So now you have 2 options. Either way, we're going to set up a 1-page comic in a very specific way so that it fits well in a digest-sized book and you can read it. That's the goal here. So this is the most specific I have been about a format, I think, ever. However, I do not require mixed media paper of a specific size. It can be any size. You might even be using printer paper if you don't have the mixed media paper, but I highly recommend the mixed media paper. And we've used it already, so I'm going to assume you have it. Okay. Oh boy, here we go. We're gonna set up the page. It's gonna require math. It's gonna require some fractions, some algebra. Thankfully, I did the algebra ahead of time, so you're just gonna have to multiply one number by another number, basically. You're gonna have to measure your height. Okay, let's pretend. I'll show you what I started setting up so that you know where we're going. So you know the end result is going to look something like this. And notice how I could have made this wider, but I chose not to because it fits better in a digest size thing. Oh, I didn't show this. Where is... Oh, I only have one copy of it. That's why it's like hiding somewhere because we oversold the zine. But this ended up going in a digest size book for a local anthology. Okay, so where are we going? We set up something like this. Okay, so that's where we're going. You see there's this line, and outside of this is like, we would have cut here. If we all had guillotines, we would just cut this paper out so that is the perfect size, but we had to draw this line. Okay, and then we have an equal margin around the outside of the page, and outside of that is bleed, but we're not really doing bleed, and these are the gutters in between the panels. Okay, so let's set up a new page. And I'm going to move everything else out of the way. We will have some little guys there for support because it's stressful. Okay, let's use that. Here, Gabumon, come hang out. Okay. All right, so if you want to, if you're just looking for how to set up a page, here it is. We're going to start with measuring the height of the page. Everyone's got a different size page. So I have this like fancy T-square ruler, but you don't need one. So this one is 10 inches. 10 inches. Okay, let's do a little scrap paper, write that down, 10 inches. And height. It helps to write it out if you want to write it out in your comic book something. So you have 10 inches height. I turned it sideways. How confusing is that? Okay, 10 inches height, and just stinks I can't fit it. So we want it to be the same ratio as 8.5 by 5.5. So we have to multiply our height by 0.647. To get the width. Because we need to know where to draw the line over here to make sure we don't draw outside of the zone of the page. We're just setting up the page size. So the height, my algebra teacher always said, put it in parentheses so you don't like lose where you're putting numbers in. The height was 10 inches. Multiplied by 0.647. It's the width. And I did that, and that is 6.47 inches. Yay. So that's our width. I decided I want to use like the right hand side of the notebook. So I'm going to measure from outside here. I'm looking at my screen to make sure you can see it too. 6.47 inches. 6, and I know halfway is 0.5, so it's a little bit less than halfway. 6.47 is like right here. So I'm just going to do a little dot here. And I know this length is 6.47 inches. So that's my page width. Great. And now I just want to make sure that everything to the left of that I don't use. So I'm going to draw a line. right here. I'm going to draw it actually really dark because I'm not erasing it. And this area is like a no-go zone. Okay. So now our page, when shrunken down to the digest size, will be perfectly sized. You see here. So it's bigger, so we can draw and then shrink it down to the right size. Okay, great. And then the next step, actually, let me open KingCat for you. Perfect. This one's great. It's got like a big margin up here, but there's this margin around the page. It's about 1/2 inch. I measure it. Yeah, it's about 1/2 inch. So we want to have a even bigger margin on our bigger size piece of paper. So if you have a different size piece of paper, your width is going to be different too. So if you have a height of 11 inches, you're going to multiply that by 0.647 and you're going to get something different. You're going to get a bigger number, and that's going to be your width. And if you have a height of 14 inches, you have a huge freaking piece of paper, you're going to have an even bigger width. I'm going to do that with bigger paper at the end here. I'm just going to do it over and over again. Okay, let's keep going. So let's mark these margins. I am going to do I could do 3/4 inch margins with it. That's kind of big. I'm going to do actually 5 eighths margin. So that's this one's an eighth. This one's a half. These smaller ones are fourths. 1, 2, 3, 4. Even smaller than that is an eighth. Every half in division, eighth. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, I'm getting to the weeds here. So that is 5/8. This is 5/8. This is 5/8. Okay. And I'm going to do one down here too, and then I'll zoom in to show you what I did. Okay. I just kind of put them randomly. Right? So I know the distance here. I know the distance here. I know the distance here. That's going to be, this area is our margin. Okay. And then I'm going to draw lines to show that where that is. Eventually, some of these lines will become panel borders. So now I have this marking here, so I know where to draw this line. And I didn't require a T-square, so just do your best to make things like parallel to the sides. You see how I'm lining up like that? Okay. That's great. Okay, let's zoom out a little bit. Now we have these margins. Okay. So this is like a big step. You need your margins to be big enough. Okay. And if I had a even bigger piece of paper than 10 inches tall, I would do margins of like 3/4 inches. If I'm doing paper that's like exactly this size, then I would just do a margin of 1/2 inch. See, I'm kind of like scaling it up. But we're not going to do another fraction for the margins because that's just too much work. The only major fraction is make sure the page is the right size. It's the most important thing. If your page is too wide, it's going to get cut off or it's going to look weird. I'm going to have to fit it in a weird way. Okay, next thing. I want 3 rows. I'll show you my 3 rows from the last comic just so. I think 3 rows looks good in this format. Let's see here. 3 rows. That's enough room for a bunch of text. So how are we going to get 3 rows out of this? Well, I'm going to mark the area where I'm going to mark it into thirds, basically. I'm going to measure from inside this, where'd my pencil go? This margin to the inside of this margin. This time my margins were bigger, so it's about 8 inches, 8 and it's almost 9 inches. So I'll do a little bit less than 3 inches. This is kind of just an estimate thing. It's like right here, right here. Yeah, good enough. Okay. So you see these 2 little marks? Those are, if I draw a line across, I'll split it into thirds. But I want gutters. So I'm going to draw a little bit above and a little bit below those marks. That's going to be my gutters. I'm going to try to go for gutters that are about 1/4 inch. I just kind of know how big 1/4 inch is these days because I draw so many comics like this. Okay, so I just estimated it. I was right. Good enough. Okay. I'm going to draw this. So I did that. Okay, we'll go again. Oh, it's kind of messed up. Okay. Great, now I have 3 rows. That's great. And then, the one other thing I recommend you do is you title this and you give it a, put your name inside the first panel. Your class name. So I'm going to make kind of like a thin one here. I'm just going to kind of estimate where it is. I'm just like estimating the size of the gutters, but you could measure like 1/4 inch if you want. So now I know like this is going to be the first comic panel. And yeah, you could start erasing the lines that you're not going to need. And I'll do that just to demonstrate. It just like helps you understand what's happening later because you might be getting lost with all these lines. Ooh, wait, let's autofocus. Great. So you can see where this panel border is going to be. Okay, so an example of putting like the name of the comic and your name is this one I did earlier. Let's see. I did a similar thing earlier. So I did that. I recommend doing something like this. And we can see it in the Lynda Barry student one too. Okay, so yeah. Now the rest is really up to you how you want to split this up. You could do something crazy. You could do triangles, whatever. But remember, we're making comics that are left, right, up, down. If you were to do like a triangle like this, that'd be kind of confusing because we go left, right, up, down. So I think I go this one first and then I read this, but I don't like going left to right and then up. I want to go up to down. So just think about that. I recommend just doing boxes. This. Maybe like that, whatever. So this is the part where I didn't explain thumbnailing in class, and I think I want to explain thumbnailing a bit. This is the first comic where we're like really planning things out. So let's go into the fiction one. I explained the nonfiction one in class. Let's go to the fiction one. Nonfiction one, I started looking at the text that I want. I know I want to do this, and I circled it and put 1. That's going to be my first panel. Actually, it's going to be panel 2 because the first panel is just the name. So, and I thumbnailed a little bit. That's confusing. 1, 2, 3. So kind of go, let's do it together. Okay. I want to thumbnail this comic. I have a bunch of text. How am I going to fit this into basically a 5-panel comic, if not a 6-panel comic? Let's just draw a little one here. This is pretty big for a thumbnail. This is going to be title T. Then I'm going to kind of roughly do this. And here's what I talked about. I talked about sticking the landing. Do we know what's going to be like the final punch? I don't know. I have not decided. But I know that this octopus is going to be stressed out. Let's just say this minimum, he's plus, so it should be a P. Okay, anyways, this is going to be panel 1. Maybe he's over here. And the octopus is there. Okay. And then what's going to happen? Maybe 2, 3. I think I want both of these together. This is going to be 3. So there's only one little thing that this octopus is saying, the cephalopod is saying. So let's say this is 2, and then this is 3. I'm kind of like putting in these speech bubbles. Okay. And let's make it a cliffhanger. This is going to be 5. This is going to be 4. See how I work backwards there? I'm like, this is going to be the end. So 5. And the green guy here. 4. Okay. I think I know where it's going to fit. Okay. So now I'm going to go back here. And I'm just going to start making the panels the way that they should be. So this one's good as it is. And I think I'm going to just do halfway both times. So this one will probably be a little bit bigger because it's got more text. So it'll probably be like this. Right. Okay. And this is the part where you pencil everything in. You can start, I recommend putting the speech bubbles in first and then drawing your characters so that you have enough room for your speech bubbles. The last thing you want to do is draw your characters and then cram in words. It's really not fun to read stuff where the words are crammed. So yeah, draw the text first, then draw the characters. Once it's all penciled, then you'll ink, and you'll have a 1-page comic. And depending on which pen you use, you'll be able to use watercolors if you use a Uniball Vision. You'll be able to use colored pencil for anything, really. But if you use the Papermate, Flare pen. The Flare pen, don't use water because it'll run and be messy. Okay, I think that's that. I'm gonna show you this method again one more time with like a really big piece of paper. But that actually won't fit. Let's just do it on a 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. I changed my mind one more time. This is going to be a really common size notepad that people have. This notepad is 12 inches by 9 inches. Okay, so you can't even see it, but 12 inches from the bottom to this perforation right here. Okay, so you can even, I'm even going to mark the perforation in bold just to, we would like normally rip it out, right? Or keep it in, but like, okay, that's an outside zone. So 12 inches. we have to multiply it by, what was the number? 6.47. So I'm going to do that. 12 times 6.47 is, oh, nope, I did that wrong, huh? Yeah. 12 times 0.647. Okay, 7.76 inches. So that's about 7 3/4 inches. Okay, so that's how wide this has to be to get it to be the right ratio. So I'm doing this. Maybe I'll do it. Maybe I'll do it from this side this time. Is that going to be evil and awful and confusing? No, we'll do it from this side this time. 7 3/4 inches right there. That's the width of my paper. So now I'm gonna do the line. Man, this is like a nice size. Maybe I'll start moving over to this size. I like this. Wow, this is nice. Lots of room. Okay. This is like the size of my paper now. And if I had a guillotine, I'd just chop it. But, okay, this is the size of my comic. And now I think I'm going to do margins of 3/4 inch. So let's just do it real quick. 3/4 inch. That's tough to do. I'm just going to use this side of the ruler. 3/4 inch. Oh, 3/4 inch. Go down here, you can't see it. Okay, I'm going to draw these lines. So 3/4 inches away from the left side. 3/4 inches away from the top, right here. Should go 3/4 inches from the right side. 3/4 inches from the bottom. Does not look great. There you go. We got our margins. Okay, and then I'm going to split this into thirds again. It doesn't even look like the right side. It's just so big to me, it looks different. So the margin from this bottom margin to the top margin, oh, it slipped, is about 10.5 inches. Ugh, that's annoying. I'm going to do a calculator because I don't want to think about that. 10.5 divided by 3. 3.5. Okay, that was way easier than I thought. I'm tired. This is 3.5. And then 1/2. 1, 2, 3. 3.5. Okay, that's about a third. So you can see this page is like I can split into thirds now. I'm gonna go about, I don't know, how wide do I want my gutters to be? 1/2 inch feels like too much. Maybe like, I'm just kind of feeling it out. I want them to be this wide. A little bit more than 1/4 inch. And then I'm gonna draw the lines again. This time. The gutters. Draw on the back of something else. Yeah, okay, good. Okay. Look at that. Here's a big page. Started. And here to this page. So you'd be able to really shrink this. So I would want to write my text bigger for this. Yeah. So the final product is going to be probably 300 dpi. I like going up to like 400 dpi or 600 dpi. I can see the difference, but those are really big file sizes, and I don't think Lulu goes up higher than 300. So I will give you an exact text size, or exact pixel size of how big your submissions will be, and that will be the moment when you find out whether or not you did these pages correctly. If you have any questions about the page size process, let me know in the Discord, and I will answer your questions, or maybe classmates can help you answer your questions. You're probably like, it's the scariest thing to start a project that's a comic, and it's especially if it's long, and think about later, oh, if I'm gonna make this a book, even as an amateur, but maybe I want to sell a few copies or whatever, or I just want to print it out. I really hope it's the right size or the right resolution, all these things. This is a thing that really stops me. So having like a standard size, I'm like, oh, I'm almost always going to make digest size work. Then, yeah, that gets me going. So I can just start drawing and know that this is going to fit in my typical printing format. And you can print digest size things at home. That's like so critical. John Porcelino can print this at the library or at home. He uses thicker paper on the outside, thinner paper on the inside. So I just want you to like get used to this size format, not the 8.5 and 11 size format, because this is way harder to print at home. Way harder, in my opinion. So that's that. Do I have anything else? Yeah, I'm gonna explain what comes next. So let me just switch back to just the webcam. I'm not putting the first one back on. I'm too warm. Next up in the class, we have 2 more sessions, and then the class is over. You're like, oh. So the next session is just a work session for the 2-page comics. The homework is to finish this 1-page comic. You can color it if you want. If you don't want to color it, that's fine. You can color it and then submit it. I really would love full color stuff, but people are going to submit black and white stuff. That's fine. But then we're going to start our 2-page final project next week. It's going to be a work session. We can talk, get help. I'm going to play some music without lyrics, I think, so that you get the creative juices flowing. And there's someone else we're doing next week. Oh yeah, we're gonna democratically go over the format of the zine, some difficult questions. If you really want to change the format, I think I'll have to decide what, as a teacher, I will just dictate and say this is the format and what things we're gonna vote on. I think the big thing we're gonna vote on is how we're going to, who we're gonna let purchase copies, or how we're gonna like advertise it in a way, because you're not really being published in a way, like no one's making money off it. We're not even we're not like advertising or anything, but like it's a very cool object to have, this book that we're going to have of students' work who choose to submit work. Yeah, so next week's that, and then week after that is a reading of the 2-page comics, a class reading. So you'll cut down the comics if you want to participate. This might just be too much work in 2 weeks time. So this is an experiment again, but a comics reading where you can cut the pages out, the panels into a PowerPoint or a Google Slides. You present, you can read your work, and I'll hit the clapping emoji. I found where that was and I added it, so I know how to clap now in Discord. And then we'll do our last drawing activity together, which will be the Furry Rave, I'm calling it, which is an adapted Lynda Barry activity. Yeah, so I look forward to seeing all your works. This optional homework, is a lot of effort, and so plan accordingly. This upcoming week, a 2-page comic full color is like a lot. So yeah. Okay, with that, let me check one more time. I think that's it. And the one person asked about the deadline for the zine, that I can kind of move that. Well, we'll see, because people will be late, but I would love it if you got your comic done ahead of time. At least a 2-page comic early enough for the last class where we can read our comics together. Okay. All right. And if you're not taking this class and you're just following along, if you have any questions, you can put that in the YouTube comments too. All right. Well, see you next week. Thanks.